All right, good morning. It's a pleasure to be presenting and a privilege to be presenting at the outset of eMetrics between such icons of the digital analytics community. I'm, as mentioned, Lane Cochrane. I actually lead the research team at iPerceptions, so a rare opportunity for me to be speaking, but they've let me speak because this started as a research project just a little under 2 years ago and ultimately culminated in what we recently launched, which was our intent recognition engine. So I wanted to walk you a bit through why we did it and how it works. Give me the clicker. Hold on. So at iPerceptions, we're a market research company. We specialize in voice of customer analytics. Essentially, we engage with customers across digital touchpoints, and we ask them about their experience. We collect such key customer intelligence as what's the intent of your visit, what's your purchase horizon, what are the needs, the barriers, the sentiment, and ultimately the outcomes and the next steps. Our customers use this intelligence to design better digital strategies. Just to give you a few metrics, we have about 3,500 active brands across the platform. That has us delivering a survey invitation, about 25 of them every second, and we collect about 4.5 million and growing respondents a year. Because we use structured research approaches, we also have over 15 million common data points that we can use to build common intelligence, and that was one of the key ingredients of our intent recognition engine. Our customers are always pressing us to make data, specifically market research data and voice of customer analytics, more actionable. And ultimately, it's frustrating to watch so many experiences not end the way the customer wanted them to end. So part of the motivation was, can we move voice of customer analytics from a diagnostic solution to something that can actually help digital marketers in real time, leveraging the intent of their customer? So while I've quoted a few numbers, obviously the big data in our space is behavioral data. The internet obviously continues to grow, having quadrupled since 2009, currently being driven by triple-digit growth from mobile traffic. And ultimately, we know more about our customers faster than we ever have before. And the promise of the big data is through this data, we will deliver better customer experiences and achieve better business results. As you can see on the other side, there is an ecosystem of tools being developed, CXM platforms, live assistance intervention, dynamic content, personalization engines. These are being built on top of the behavioral data. So the behavioral data is being pushed into the back-end part of these programs, and digital marketers are being given tools, either rules-based engines or algorithmic approaches, in which they can influence the customer experience in real time. There's already some sense of frustration that big data isn't achieving what it's supposed to achieve fast enough, although history will ultimately tell us if that's true. There is also trepidation that if we don't do this properly, customers will push back with concerns about something as privacy, and that will really stall the application of big data solutions. We feel that ultimately, there's another piece of the pie that can really fuel the ability for us to affect these engines and affect personalization, live assistance, and the ability to influence the customer experience in real time. I think you know what I'm going to say based on the title of the talk. But ultimately, behavior is a product of a thought process by the consumer. Because we have so much behavioral data, in a sense, it has become divorced from the mind metrics or the intent that initially is creating the behavior we have. Part of data mining, probably a good chunk of it, is going through that behavioral, trying to recreate the customer's intent in order to understand what the recommendations and what the digital marketer should do. And that's essentially because there's no way to scale visitor intent, or there hasn't been up until now, a way to scale visitor intent to the volume and the velocity of behavioral data. And that was the objective of our research project, as I mentioned. So why is intent such a game changer in the sense of making digital marketing so much easier? If you take a look at this pie graph, this is an e-com case study within our technology vertical, and it shows you broadly the various intent that the visitors had upon visiting the website. When we have exposure to intent, it's easier to imagine what the experience should be. We probably don't want to show our new 30% discount to the support seekers that are coming to look for support on probably the very same product we are now discounting. We want to make sure our blogs on best practice tips get in front of the people that are there to use the services on this site so we can reinforce their loyalty. Our copious amounts of nurturing and persuasion material we want in front of those doing product research. But probably most importantly, the group that came to buy, we want to help them buy. I've never met anyone who doesn't have conversion, growing conversion as a KPI within their corporate objectives. If we have exposure, in this particular case, there's just under 15% people who came with the explicit intent to buy, and that is the group we want to work against. If you had visibility into this segment, the majority of your existing conversions would come from this group, but more importantly, 4 in 5 in this case would have not been able to purchase. While I've seen different case studies and different sets of data, I've never seen a situation where that opportunity did not exceed the actual conversions. What we want systems to do is to target and be able to model on opportunity, and that's what intent gives you. If you model just on conversions, you are doing conversion optimization. If you model against purchase intent, you are really looking at conversion growth. This is really the lowest hanging fruit out there in terms of e-com opportunity. Without access to intent, obviously, the challenge becomes greater. Without being able to see with intent, we either have to treat all sessions as having equal opportunity and use our content and actions that way, or we look within the behavioral data for clues to rebuild the intent. I'll give you an example of one such clue. Obviously, people in the cart would be a strong indicator of people with purchase intent. We can see from this actual data in this case, 44% of them are there with the explicit intent to purchase, but we can see that 56% of them actually weren't. From a model point of view, an algorithm approach, this is noise in the system. As you move upstream, that noise will increase if we look at people researching product specs or people that might be in the build-in price. The proportion that came with the explicit purchase intent diminishes. If we try to use these variables in conjunction, we are introducing noise into any models, making it harder for these systems to actually hone in on the opportunity. Probably more importantly is 73% of the people that came with the intent to purchase did not pass through this behavioral marker. Therefore, most of the opportunity would go unleveraged. And that's essentially, of course, because sessions move on. If we look at a snapshot of sessions in time of the people who came to make a purchase, after only 3 minutes, 30% of that opportunity has already left the site. And so any system that wants to take action needs the ability to identify these targets in real time. And while we also visualize behavior as passing through a funnel or a structured approach, we can see that after even just about 5 clicks, 90% of sessions are already unique. So the ability to maintain a rules-based system that can update and target in on this variable becomes increasingly complex the longer the sessions are. So I hope I've showed with you the value of intent. It shifts the focus away from trying to figure out who people are or analyze what they're doing to what they want. And intuitively, for digital marketing, it becomes a lot easier to conceive of personalization or to allocate resources for things like proactive chat when we have visibility. The solution, of course, can't be to ask everyone, just in case you thought that was my proposition. So anyone with an active VOC program knows that you're usually collecting stated intent or other such variables between 1 to 3% of your sessions. That's about how many you need to build a representative sample for diagnostic value. The trick is, and the challenge of this project, is to take that strong signal of stated intent and scale it to all the active sessions on site. So that's what we spent our 1.5 years doing, is leveraging the combined data of the explicit intent with the behavioral data, leveraging the intelligence from our collective data points of 15 million data points across our syndicated database, and a lot of time adapting machine learning techniques and mixed modeling. We were able to recognize the intent of active sessions by determining that pattern of intent. We can achieve, in certain use cases, 75% coverage of active sessions, and that means that we can know what the intent of these sessions are in real time without asking, by leveraging this strong signal subsample of voice of customer data. So a little bit of architecture. If you look at what would be the left-hand side, that's a depiction of the engine. So once we have that pattern recognition and that intent, we put a real-time decision module on top of that, such that if you look at the other side, that's a view of someone's website represented by the pages, And as someone navigates the page, we can recognize the pattern of intent, make that data available to a system, and ultimately, in this case, trigger something like live assistance or proactive chat. If we think back to our use case of conversion growth, trying to find people that with the intent to purchase, what we're doing is making their experience better. This is what they came to do. And obviously, we are mobilizing our resources against the appropriate target such that we can actually have conversion growth. Having all our resources hang out at the checkout counter with people credit card in hand is not where we want them. We want them early up in the session, but we want to know that this is actually what people want to do. If you look at that same engine from the user point of view, the experience obviously does not change. As they navigate the site, that intent trigger is made, and proactive chat, if that's already being implemented, can be launched. The difference is, if we think back, someone who came with the intent to purchase is 15 times more likely to make a purchase than someone who came to research, even though from a behavior point of view, you might find them in similar spots. That is essentially the power that is activating the engine, is that propensity of that person to buy. The trick of the engine is really just to target in on the opportunity variable. So ultimately, any technology will be judged by its ability to actually move business metrics along. What we did was contrast the execution, looking at proactive chat built on engagement rules as they had been for the client, again, to target purchase conversion. And then we allowed the intent recognition engine to target purchase intenders and make the call of who received proactive chat. What we saw was there was a threefold increase in the number of purchase intenders that fell into the net of proactive chat. There was a 10% increase in the number of chats accepted because the propensity of that group to engage in chat was higher. But ultimately, there was a 30% increase in conversion. And that is fundamentally driven by the behavior of that group, which is to convert, and that is what's driving essentially the higher conversion from the intent recognition engine. So we've talked a bit about using this in the context of live assistance, but ultimately the ability to have visibility on intent can open up the creativity to design better experiences and better outcomes across a variety of tools. The trick is to get intent to scale to the behavioral data. Previously, this hasn't been available, which is why there's so much inferring and rebuilding of intent going on. And this was the challenge that we wanted to accomplish through this research project and through the launch of our intent recognition engine. Thank you so much for this opportunity. It's a rare opportunity for myself, and I really hope you enjoy the rest of the conference. Thank you very much.